Jubei, she's married, bro. Onimusha series does not have bad games, but out of all the games in the mainline series, number 2 was by far the best. The first Onimusha was already a great game. It built the world of Onimusha and established the core gameplay mechanics that is fun and consistent throughout the series. It was full of exploration, monsters, puzzles, and plenty of soul-sucking action. Maybe its only criticism being that it's too short? Onimusha 2 for me is the perfect sequel. They took everything I like and dislike about the first game and made it better. The basics of the game is still all the same. Fixed camera, tank controls, you kill, you suck, and you repeat. My favorite part of any Onimusha game is the Itsun's critical strike. It's the timing based one-hit KO attack. Timing seemed a little bit different in the second game compared to the first, but what's cool is that you can chain them in the second game. This is some thumb candy stuff. One thing they improved from the first game for sure is that there is more volume to the game. The first Onimusha was more of a contained experience taking place mostly in one castle. In the second game, it opens up a lot. Protagonist Jubei travels to multiple areas including villages, castles, islands, demon world, and even a town. I really liked the town when I originally played the game. It's not like the existence of towns make a game better, but it was a good place to just chill between the action. There are shops and NPCs you can talk to in town, but most importantly, it's where you can find your companions. The first game only had Kaede, which was cool and all, but the second game has Oyu, who's more useful and prettier. There are also 3 other characters, the ninja boy, the gun guy, and the horny drunk monk. In Onimusha 2, you can give gifts to your companion which will unlock new scenarios depending on the relationship with the character. I think I messed up because I kept getting the horny drunk monk to help me. I'd rather get OU.
Are you okay?
These scenarios gave the game so much more replayability than the first game. Second game not only has more companions, it also has more memorable villains. There's this guy that doesn't die, your mom, and also the greatest swordsman of all demons, Gogen Dantes and his nipple armor. Why does he emphasize the nipple so much on his armor?
Oh, I'm glad you asked. My name is Gogen Dantes, the greatest swordsman of all demons.
What's wrong with you? Who talks like that?
Even the terrible English voice acting from the first game is slightly less terrible in the second game.
Jubei.
Oyu?
Jubei!
Oyu!
I actually think Gogen Dantes and Jujudoma actually has pretty good voice acting.
My lord, Nobunaga.
Overall, all the new stuff in the game might have made Onimusha 2 lose its horror vibes that it had in the first game, but overall I think it made for a better game. You know, playing Onimusha 2 got me thinking about game sequels. This is a personal experience obviously, but when I was younger, game sequels never disappointed. Let me elaborate what games made me think that. I think my first experience with the great sequel came from the arcade. The days where I'd risk getting stabbed to go to the arcades to play some Virtua Fighter. Virtua Fighter 1 was an amazing game, but damn, have you seen Virtua Fighter 2? The second game had more characters, it looked way better, and had double the frame rate. I mean, just look at these two games. Virtua Fighter 2 came out only about a year after Virtua Fighter 1 too. I didn't realize that when I was a kid. I always thought Virtua Fighter 1 came out at least 5 years before the second one. There was absolutely no reason to play the original after playing the sequel, it was just a better game. Another example from the same genre, Street Fighter 2 was so good that as a kid I never even realized that there was a Street Fighter 1. Another fighting game series that made me love the number 2 was the Super Budokan series on the Super Famicom. The first game was pretty good for its time. I love how it turns into split screen after you fly or get far away from each other. It was fun, but very clunky. I read in a magazine that the second game was coming out and started to get hyped. This was like the peak of Dragon Ball Z's popularity too, as it was an ongoing series at the time in the mid-early 90s. When I eventually got the second game, it was some amazing stuff. Graphics were so much better than the first game. They improved on the story mode with more engaging cutscenes, and the fighting felt so much more crisp and enjoyable. I enjoyed the different ways to have ki blast battles in the game. I thought fighting games could not get any better than this. Another game sequel that lived up to the hype? Donkey Kong Country 2. Diddy's Kong Quest, not Diddy Kong's Quest. The original side-scrolling masterpiece was fun, but with some issues, like weird hitboxes and weird level designs, or how Diddy Kong was better than Donkey Kong in every way possible. When I got the second game and saw the cover, I was actually surprised that Donkey Kong was not in a Donkey Kong game. But once I played it, it instantly became one of my favorite platformer games. It was just better than the first game in every way. Better map design, better music, better theming, and more balance between the two playable characters. Dixie was slower than Diddy, but she could jump higher and glide with her spinning move. You know what other number 2 was amazing? Diablo. It was so amazing that Diablo 2 is still the best Diablo game. I may crown it as the best number 2 of all time. It was my first online addiction. Second if you count Diablo 1 was a fun action RPG that mostly took place in one dungeon. It was fun at the time, but it was no Diablo 2. Diablo 2 expanded the world with more classes, more areas, more story acts, and many others. By this time, I would say I was pretty internet savvy. There were definitely more information available online by the year 2000, which meant more hype for the game. But once again, I was hyped and was not let down. I mean, it says a lot when you start remastering from the second game. I'm just rambling about the good old days here. But I was just thinking about how so many game sequels actually delivered back in the days. It also came out very quickly. The Dragon Ball Z game, Donkey Kong Country 2, and Virtua Fighter 2 all came out only a year after their original games. You just don't see that kind of turnaround anymore, except in sports games. Yes, of course there were bad sequels back then and there's good sequels now. I'm not here to complain, but I feel like gaming industry just gotten so much worse even though it's a much bigger industry now. It takes a miracle to get a game that respects and cares about gamers these days.